Dreamers everywhere. Welcome to the Julie Disney podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andee Zilmerman.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Aldee. How's it going, Andee?
It's going okay, I guess. How's it going with you?
It's great. I mean, it's just normal, but I figured I would do the Tony the Tiger thing.
Tony the Tiger thing, which could be Disney if you want to go through that thing. Oh, come on. He's the voice of the haunted mansion, Mr. Lincoln.
I know that, but I'm just sort of working through the corporate ownership pieces of,
Yeah, whatever.
By that track, anything that Mel Blanc ever did, could be Disney, which is Disney? All of Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. How was your Disney week? Did you have a Disney week?
I did have a Disney week.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna talk a little bit about Once Upon a Studio, which is I watched probably like 5 times, and that was my Disney week. But then it sort of sent me into my Disney rabbit hole of trying to figure out, watching videos about every character that fell into, that was made a cameo in that movie. And then last night I just felt a Disney urge and I watched Hercules and my Disney history stuff. So I had a ton of Disney stuff this week, and I have been on campus a lot lately because we've been having a lot of student protests. So I took the opportunity when I was sitting in my office waiting for stuff to happen to completely re-coordinate and redecorate my office with new Disney stuff. So not new Disney stuff, some new Disney stuff, but mostly reconfiguring and making a gallery wall out of I didn't realize until I had it, I have a number of Disneyland signs. Whether it's like my Disneyland sign itself, my Haunted Mansion sign, my Club 33, like I have a bunch of stuff like that I just put all on a wall. That looks pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited about it. So it was a pretty good Disney week as those things go, and especially the last couple of days since I've had a couple days off, and it's been raining, so I've just been YouTubing all the Disney stuff and Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. What about you?
Oh, see, Ed must be home now because my dog is barking. So sorry, listeners.
If my dog hears your dog bark.
But he won't, because I have... Oh, no, he will, because you don't have headphones. I have headphones.
And then this is welcome to the Two Dogs Barking podcast.
Well, I had, so it's been like, just life. Life is stressful sometimes more than others. And Ed had been gone. And so my life after work, like my life coming home from work, is very different when Ed is gone. So when Ed is here, there's the routine of, MSNBC is home or on when I get home, and then we have dinner and we watch a show together, whatever that's going to be. Well, that didn't happen in the last 2 weeks. So I got home and it was quiet, and all I wanted to do was have Disney on in the background. And so, I definitely played some movies and different things just to have on in the background, but I sat down to watch a couple. And it's funny that you mentioned Hercules, because Hercules was one of them. I'm about to do, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to start the hero's journey, literary, whatever you want to call it. With
called me to consult.
I'm not very... I know. I'll get there. Trust me. But anyway, so it's just interesting because, of course, most Disney and Pixar movies fit into that. Hercules is a given, but Moana, I sat down to watch Moana again.
Oh, Moana's great.
From start to finish. So it's not like I haven't. Of course, I've seen Moana, and then through the years, just it's been on or seen different parts, but from very start to very finish.
I mean, I don't know if you're like this, but when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Especially once we got a VCR, I would watch these movies from front to back a lot, like over and over, even through college. And now, like, I see them once in the theater. Even if I love it, it's hard to find the time to sit down and watch a whole movie.
Yeah.
So, like, usually I'll see it in the theater and then see it in bits and pieces after that. So sitting down to watch a whole movie, particularly a Disney movie, is always a treat, because I feel like, well, particularly in my house, my dog really doesn't like animation. So to sit down and for an hour and a half and watch a movie can be difficult.
No, I get that. Looking at my dog right now.
I don't know how my dog got that. Like, I don't know where it comes from. His mother, apparently. I don't know.
Oh, it was fantastic. But I think I have more Disney movies to watch start to finish in my future, getting ready for this hero's journey unit that I'm doing. But
Joseph Campbell, man. Oh, Don't even get me started.
I know. There's so much Disney stuff though. Disney 100 on Monday. Monday seems like forever ago. We're
It really
recording
does.
this on Sunday, but Monday seems like forever ago. I'm a little bit jealous of Emma. I don't know if Annika got one. I know a lot of cast members got
Oh yeah,
the
I was
actual
literally going
lithograph.
to ask you about that because
Mm-hmm.
I almost spent $350 on eBay today to get one, and then I was like, well, let me check with Emma and Annika, and that was one of the cheap ones.
Oh my
That was
lord.
one with a bent corner. And I said, well, before I pull the trigger on this, let me check with Emma and Annika to see if maybe they have access before I spend. And actually, I'd rather give money to somebody they know too. But go on.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
That's not a bad
lithograph.
idea.
What we're talking about is the Once Upon a Studio lithograph with all the character, the photo, quote unquote photo in front of the studio.
It was so cute. It was so cute. I loved it. And I know that they premiered it on ABC on Sunday night, which I don't have network television. So I had to wait until Monday morning. But it was so cute. So I was teary the first time I watched it. What about you?
It's so funny the adjectives we use, because saying it was so cute, to me, I'm like, it wasn't cute. It was awesome. It was so
cute.
cool. Like, all this
it was
history.
So cute.
And,
so much history.
And I guess cute isn't like a thing that I would assign to it, just because, like, if you are in any way, shape, or form a Disney fan, which if you're not, I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast unless you really like Andee and me. Which
That's
no, that checks out. No, that checks out. It's so rich with little Easter eggs of Disney history. Now, for those of you who haven't seen it, a lot of people may not have had the opportunity. It is a short, Disney short, released, and the premise of the short is after everybody who works at the studio goes home, all the characters come out of the art, and they're going to take a group photo for the 100-year anniversary in front of the studio. And so it is just character after character after character with moments and interactions and just awesomeness, with a little bit of awesome sauce and awesome sprinkles on top.
So not cute is what you're telling me. It was cute.
I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, it can't be cute. It's just not.
It was cute.
Sort of my choice of adjective.
It was super cute. And I'll tell you what the super cutest was. The super cutest was when Goofy's ladder fell apart and the fairy godmother came and brought him up again. And then Alan O'Dell started playing the banjo or whatever that little thing is. Sorry.
I think it's a mandolin, but
mandolin. That's it. Not the banjo. The mandolin.
Me, the most awesome part.
I know what the most awesome part was. I'm not saying that wasn't the most awesome part. I said that was a cute part. I know what the most awesome part is.
I mean, I will say it.
Go ahead, because I know what it is.
Sees Walt's picture and just has a moment.
On with the show. Oh my god!
On with the show. And the animation that they did on that. Well, and do you know the story about the music on that moment? Have you heard this?
I know about Sherman. Is that what you're talking about?
About how they recorded it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. About the Robert,
so in that
Richard,
moment, they're playing "Feed the Birds," right?
In that, yeah, I do know about that. I thought you were talking about the. Yeah, go ahead.
So they're playing "Feed the Birds," which was Walt's favorite song. Yeah, that's fine. I noticed the music first time I saw it. I was like, "That's cool." But then, all my YouTubing and research, what I discovered is they went and made a special recording of that, and got, I believe, Richard Sherman, who is the surviving Sherman brother, who is 96. I want to say, and they took him to Walt's office, where I've been.
Shut up! I'm going.
And had him play on the piano in Walt's office and recorded it there specifically for the short. Which is where Walt used to say, "Hey, boys, come in and play that at the end of the day," because it was his favorite song.
I did. Yes, that is
so cool. And I'm sure you know this. They found archival audio of Robin Williams that people hadn't heard before. So Robin Williams was actually voicing the genie, and a lot of the characters were voiced by their original voice actors even those who have passed, they went and found archival
Yep.
footage. Not
Yep.
every single one, but a good number of them
Yep.
are voiced by the original voice actor. So when you look at the credits at the end,
Mm-hmm.
the voice actor, you're like, wait a minute, I thought that guy was dead. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The amount of work that went in
Oh my goodness.
to this short, but it's so special. I think it was so special. And I got to tell you, I don't think I caught everyone. I was trying to catch all the characters that meant a lot to me that you don't see a lot of.
Like
And
Humphrey.
so, oh my gosh, was I dying when Humphrey was there, and the forest ranger, and then oh my gosh, so dying. But okay, so I made a list. Did you make a list of the characters or no that you were excited to see?
I mean, okay, I didn't make a list, but I'm pretty good at coming up with them off the top of my head because, quite frankly, like you, it's obviously there's the characters that we always see, but the characters that you never see, right? And some of the movies that I think didn't have the regard that they should have,
like Black Cauldron,
like Strange World, which came out just I want to say this year, and nobody saw it, and I thought it was remarkable, and I thought it was one of those movies that you should see on a big screen. So Strange World characters, the Big Hero 6 characters,
Meet the Robinsons, which you didn't see,
which I haven't seen yet, but maybe I'll watch it. Interesting also, because I know a couple people have asked me about it, how come the Pixar characters weren't there? All from Walt Disney Studios.
Right.
Pixar, but a different studio.
Right. I didn't even, it didn't even occur to me that the Pixar characters weren't there because I wasn't expecting them to be there. If that makes sense.
Like for me, like all the Pixar movies, at least the features have been released by Disney. But from the beginning, I kind of in my brain had separated them. So even once Disney bought Pixar, they still sort of exist separately to me. And it's harder to tell them apart now that Disney's are 3D computer generated animation. Sometimes it's hard to figure out which is which, but
totally.
The characters from Seeing Red were some of my favorite. Turning Red. I'm sorry. Yeah. Because another movie of the last couple of years that I love, and a lot of people haven't seen. Well, who was some of your favorites?
I just thought, well, at first, and this isn't like that obscure, but I like that Bolt was in the opening scene, the dog Bolt, because listeners, I drive a Chevy Bolt, so my car's name is Bolt, and so that was just fun. But the Dodger, Billy Joel's Dodger, was right after that, and then Elliot, of course, I will love anything that shows Elliot. Humphrey, of course, was my favorite. Watching the Great Mouse Detective characters in there. Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Mr. Toad flying on the magic carpet.
I love Mr. Toad on the way. I love the headless horseman in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh. So funny. So funny. This was a special one for me too. When Oswald came up and Mickey said, "After you." That one kind of like got me too.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's so special.
Yeah.
Johnny Appleseed, Casey from Casey at Bat. I saw him, and Todd and Copper from Fox and the Hound, but also John Henry.
Henry, which is again this short that I heard about, had not seen, and it took me like 3 years to find it.
Yeah.
And when I found it, it instantly became one of my absolute favorite Disney shorts. And here's the thing, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, as much as I love Disney and Disney Plus, I do think that they do not treat the Disney shorts with the respect due, because it's so hard to find they don't have all of the shorts on there, which makes no sense. And B, even if it's on there, they're really hard to find. Like they need a better organization system for their Disney shorts. But I was also really pleased that they actually put a lot of the characters from the shorts in there, because they could have just as easily gone with just anybody who's been in a feature.
I know. That was pretty cool.
Peter and the Wolf.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right?
Yes. What was I just going to say? Oh, that was hilarious. When 101 Dalmatians were watching Fantasia for Chernabog on there, and Kristoff's all, "Gonna give you nightmares, puppies." I just thought that was so, I don't know. I just loved it. I loved it. I could go on.
There was not a moment in it that what didn't build on the last moment. It just kept getting better and better and better. until the end, where, and again, it's the thing that Disney does best. Yeah, it's a bunch of goofy gags and da 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 da, but then they find a way to just give you a little bit of heart, right? Right at the end, when Goofy screws up the photo, because part of me goes, Mickey, come on, of all the people here, Goofy, right? Goofy's the one you're going to let take a picture.
They never learn.
The only worst one to pick would be Donald.
That's true. But the sloth coming toward the elevator with Donald, with the most angry person.
If you could pick the worst person to have to hold an elevator, and how much I love the sloth named Flash, like that's just such a brilliant character. And these two characters would never meet, and I can imagine being in the room the day the animators go, yeah, we need to have Donald in there, but who could really drive Donald crazy? The Flash. The sloth. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Good job, Disney Studios.
And they did the Goofy yell too, which is
they did.
It was just, and then they end with When You Wish Upon a Star, which is come on.
Yeah, it was pretty special.
So I am committed to finding a print of that lithograph. If I have to pay,
don't pay that much. I'm sure that somebody somewhere has. Don't you think you're going to pay $300 for it in like 2 months? Disney's going to have it for sale in their gift shops.
Here's the thing, though. I am much more of a collector, as we talked about, than you. Sometimes Disney collectibles always go up in value. They start at a certain place. Other collectibles will take a spike at the beginning and then drop. Disney collectibles start at a certain level and keep getting higher. My eternal regret that I didn't go to the Disney panel at Comic-Con. I think it was either at Comic-Con or D23 a couple years back, where they were handing out Marvel 1000 with Mickey on the front.
Oh, I remember.
Those books are up to like $2 or $3
grand
right now. And I don't have one. I was in the building, could have easily gone. Don't have one. And so my worry is that they won't, because Disney likes to make money, but sometimes the way they make money is by keeping things exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend that money, but I know how I am. I still regret there's one Disney collectible that I saw and I didn't get, and it's a replica of the Disneyland welcome plaque.
Yeah.
And I recently, it was on a heritage auction, and I lost it. And I think it went for like $700 or $800, and I could have gotten it for like $100. Like from the park.
Yeah.
And so my fear is that I'm going to wait too long, and it's just going to keep being way too expensive. I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on it.
Okay.
Which is why I need you, as soon as we're done here, to text your 2 Disney employee children. And again, I'm not looking for it for free. I'd love to have it for free. But if they've got a friend that don't want theirs,
all right,
let them know.
All right.
Maybe a little bit of change in them.
All right. Will do. Oh, man.
And we're talking before the podcast about how cheap I am.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to this.
My God.
It's a little bit of scratch.
I guess that's what happens when you're the vice chancellor.
Assistant vice chancellor.
I'm sorry, the assistant vice chancellor of a major university.
Like Dwight Schrute.
Yeah, assistant to the vice chancellor.
Sorry.
Oh man. Well, we decided to come up with some of our what do you want to call it, favorite moments of Disney 100
it's the
years?
Disney 100th anniversary, and it was just this past Monday. And I thought, well, over 100 years of history, what are the moments specific to Andee and I? What are our top 5 each moments of Disney history? That's as much as I thought about it, but I've got 5 and like 84 honorable mentions. Do you have 5?
I have 5, and I don't have any honorable mentions because on purpose, because I was like, I just had to come up with my top 5. So yeah, I got rid of all the honorable mentions.
I came up with top 5, and it's changed like 6 times since I came up with it.
Okay, that's what I was afraid of for myself. So that's why I was like, okay, all right.
So why don't you go first? What's your?
Okay, I think for number 1, I was not alive for it, but when Walt Disney.
Wow, that must really be a long time ago. Yeah.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. Um, I know. Being old is hard. Anyway, it
I'll
is
always be older if
when
it helps. Yeah.
that's true. When Walt Disney accepted the honorary Academy Awards for Snow White from Shirley Temple,
Oh,
with the 1 regular size Oscar and the 7 miniature ones.
that's a good moment.
I just think it was special. It's an iconic moment.
Mhm.
I love that they made the custom smaller Oscars, which I guess they'd only done once before when Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, his
Mhm.
ventriloquist doll, I guess
Yeah.
they made a wooden Oscar for Charlie
Well, that
McCarthy.
was pretty early in Academy history. I think
Mm-hmm.
the Academy Awards had only been around for like 15 years or
That's what
around
I'm
more.
saying.
Yeah.
So and then Disney was talking about. I just think that for an animated film to carry so much weight in
Yeah.
the film world was huge. And so that's my number one, or
That's
my, to
really good.
start off, that's my earliest
That's a really good moment.
moment.
I believe, I could be mistaken, believe that Oscar is at the Walt Disney Family Museum here in the Bay Area, right
Oh,
across
okay.
the. I know I've seen it, and that's the place I've been the most that has those.
Okay.
It has a lot of his Oscars.
Okay.
But again, I know you haven't been down there, but you should if you ever want
I
to.
know. I
And
know.
for our
It's really
listeners,
embarrassing
if you're a Disney
that I
fan,
haven't.
that museum is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first pick, and mine kind of go chronologically. I didn't know it until I looked at it, and then I realized it's chronological. Is Disney moment is the train ride from New York back to LA after Walt found out that he had lost Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and he and Lillian were coming back, and he'd lost all his animators, and he had no sort of nothing in the pipeline, but he did still have to finish a certain number of Oswald cartoons, even though like after that he was going to be done. And part of this story I understand is apocryphal, right? That really did a good chunk of the visual work when he got back to LA. But it was on that train ride from New York to Los Angeles that Walt came up with the idea for a little guy we all know as Mickey Mouse. And
Only
so
because of Lillian.
only because of Lillian, because he was going to call him Mortimer, which is a terrible name. Although it ended up being the name of the his
Nephew.
rival. Yeah,
No, I thought it was nephew.
maybe
Wasn't
it was
it?
his name.
I
I
think it's
thought it
his
was.
nephew.
I don't know.
Morty Mouse, Mortimer.
I also think it was in the Galloping Gaucho where he had that other guy. I think his name is Mortimer as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
did
could be
not know
wrong,
that.
but I doubt I am.
I don't know. Go ahead, listeners, prove him wrong. He likes to think he can say anything and nobody will
Try.
fact check him. Okay.
Good luck with that.
All right. Well, number 2 for me, Disneyland.
As a moment, just the whole.
As a moment, I think that when I really, it's easy to let it just slip by as like, oh yeah, Walt Disney did that. But when I think about amusement parks, sorry to say this, but amusement parks mostly suck. They just do.
I agree. 100%.
They're trashy and they're icky. And I do
I
love
always think
Universal
of
Studios.
that time a few years ago when you and I were walking around Six Flags, and both of us
I
were
know.
like, ugh.
I know, like, what are we doing? And so, like, the fact that he wanted to open an amusement park, the fact that he used his profits from his television show to have that amusement park, right? I mean, he was making quality content, media content, in order to open an amusement park. Is just, it's kind of, when I think about it, a little bit insane to me that somebody like all into movies and studio and animation and all this can also have an amusement park. And now we look back and we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, now Universal Studios has one and all of this, but I mean, he
Nobody
created
had done that
Disneyland.
then.
And that's what I'm saying. It's amazing. And Disneyland has grown, right? The parks have grown worldwide and multi parks, but just the fact that he opened Disneyland and the fact that it didn't go well, the first couple days because of all the mistakes that you always hear about, but still going strong. People from all over the world are still visiting that little tiny amusement park in Anaheim that has no room, and are putting strollers and scooters in there, and you can't walk. But still,
Yeah.
but still, people are visiting and loving it and get excited about it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it says a lot to me. That's why I think it's huge.
I like that. I like that. Here's a little hint.
Yeah.
Might be discussing it again. Um, so my second moment is going to take a slight history lesson to
Mm-hmm.
understand the impact of the moment. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs come out. That's not the moment. Huge hit, massive hit. Everybody thought it was going to be a failure. It's a huge, massive hit, right? And so Disney on the back of that, Walt and Roy built the studio and started work on Fantasia and Pinocchio and Bambi and people at sort of the classic four Disney films. And people now look and go, oh my gosh, just hit after hit. But none of those movies were financially successful for a lot of reasons, but mostly because we're going right into World War II. And
Mm-hmm.
so the European market was not there. And so the studio was in trouble. Those movies that we think of as classics now just weren't, particularly Fantasia, were not hits. And so a small story that the guys were working on that Walt just happened to like and kept saying, "Hey, make that longer," comes out and is another huge hit for the studio in a way nobody ever expected and really saved the studio. And that film is Dumbo. So my moment is the release of Dumbo, which saved the studio and was the artistic ambition of something like Fantasia, Pinocchio, which you know is my absolute favorite and just artistically a beautiful movie, was sort of overwhelmed in a good way by a simple story about a little elephant with big ears. And it's the moment in which I think the idea really firmed within Disney that story is at the center of everything they do, and that includes the parks. Like that, a good story told well is the thing that we will do, and it can be as ornate as we want, or it can be as small as we want. But the story itself has to be king. And that nobody expected Dumbo to do what it did, and Dumbo was a massive hit, even during or in the immediate aftermath of World War II. And again, I've been doing a lot of sort of Disney YouTube rabbit holes the last couple days,
Mm-hmm.
and Dumbo's one of those movies where I haven't really watched it very much, and then I just watched the Baby Mine segment, and I was tearing up, and I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Baby Mine is crazy.
remember? I forget how good this movie is."
Mm-hmm.
And it's not super complicated. It's the shortest of all the Disney feature films.
Is it really?
It's only like 67 minutes. It's just a little over an hour. And that horrendous remake took everything about it and just
I didn't even watch it.
don't believe
I
me. Don't.
didn't.
It'll
I
make you
didn't.
angry. And just sort of took exactly the wrong lesson, which is this is a pretty simple, straightforward story that you
Yeah.
can tell simply and straightforwardly.
Yeah.
The pink elephant segment, like Dumbo is and it's not like on my list of like favorite Disney movies or anything like that. But when I was thinking of moments, I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is the moment that really shifted things a lot
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
studio and for animation and for Disney as a whole. So Dumbo
Mm-hmm.
is my second moment.
I like it. All right. Well, mine goes along the same lines, and I think it's going to surprise you that I have this on my list of moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that is 1989 release of Little Mermaid, The Little Mermaid. Oh,
Now, why might
Ariel.
that surprise me? You can explain to the listeners because I already know.
Oh, I think we've even talked about this before.
Yeah,
Al
but
and I had.
this might be there somebody's first time listening.
That's true. That's true. Al and I had just met fall of 1989, discovered we were both Disney fans, went to go see The Little Mermaid opening together. He loved it. I did not. Was very disappointed in The Little Mermaid. I was a classic. I loved Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, and I loved the animation. The hand-drawn animation was just so beautiful to me and so special to me. And to watch The Little Mermaid be animated by computers Sacrilege, I tell
Which
you.
is so funny because there's very little computer animation in that movie from what we think of now, right?
But oh, right, from
Yeah,
now, exactly. But it did not have that charm of the old movie that I was so drawn to. Now, mind you, this came after a period of a lot of Disney flops, and they were also not doing very well. So, like, Oliver and Company, which I love, did not do very well. So there
yeah.
were a bunch of flops, and the studio wasn't doing well. And then um, Little Mermaid was the renaissance, if you will, the beginning of the renaissance of Disney movies. And so yeah, that's my
I'm
moment.
so curious about this because over the years, has
Yeah.
your opinion, I know it has somewhat, but how has your opinion of The Little Mermaid shifted from that initial response?
Well, knowing what went into making the movie, knowing how it really did save the studio. Now that I know more about technology and computers and stuff, it's not really that big of a deal. The music is amazing. Uh, I don't know why I was so disappointed that first time, but I really did not enjoy it. It took me a long time to like The Little Mermaid, and now it's great. I mean, Jodie Benson, come on, her voice, let's
It is,
go.
right? Like, I think it's fair to say that Little Mermaid is a classic, but
Yes,
it
it
still
is.
amazes me. I remember that night being like, how? What? How do you not?
I know. I do remember that night as well. And I will tell you, in this past 2 weeks where I was catching up on all my Disney movies, I did finally see the live action
Oh,
Little
interesting.
Mermaid,
What'd
and
you
I
think?
really liked it. I
Yeah,
really liked it. I think they did a really good job with it. And I was
yeah,
not prepared to like any live action
yeah.
film.
I liked her a lot. It still had the same problem that I have with a lot of live action movies, where it's like they try to overcomplicate things and answer questions that nobody asked, right? Like, you know,
That
and
is true. I
right,
like what you're saying. They're trying to answer questions that nobody asked.
right,
That
right.
that
But
is
on the
the
whole, I
truth.
really liked it. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I thought
Yeah.
she was really, really good.
Yeah. Totally did a great job.
Yeah,
Totally. I mean, and Triton was actually pretty good too.
yeah,
Um, a lot of them were. I just, but yeah, answering questions that nobody asked.
right.
That is exactly what it
Yeah,
did.
I remember sitting in Beauty and the Beast and going, "Did we all really care about where Belle's mother was? I didn't even know that was a question."
No, that was not one of my favorite live actions. I know
Oh,
we're
it
getting off the
was.
subjects, but
We may have a list later of our worst live action. I
ah,
don't think I could generate a list of the best, but
I
uh,
true
it was
that. Yes.
near the bottom for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
Um, so my next moment, which you may find familiar, let me see. Do you know what happened on this date, July 17th, 1955?
Ugh. Here it is. It's already Disneyland. So what's
Opening
different about
day,
me? You're picking specifically the day.
specifically the moment,
Okay. Specifically
opening
the
day.
moment.
And part
Okay.
of it is because of everything that came up to that moment. It
Mm-hmm.
encompasses Walt sitting at Griffith Park going, I wish I could do stuff with my kids instead of watching my kids. It includes all the stories of Walt making folks stay late in the studio over the weekend and being like, all right, if you stay and work on this, I'll stay with you. Um, the 1 year construction, which is amazing. The Disneyland was constructed in a year to arrive at July 17th. If you, I know you probably have, but if our listeners haven't, Disney Plus has the coverage of opening day at Disneyland, which was a fiasco. Just a couple of things that happened. The invitations that they sent out were just sort of mimeographed, and so were easily duplicated. So where they expected like 20,000 people, like 50,000 people
Do you
showed
know
up.
there's a whole generation that's listening right now that doesn't even know what mimeograph means?
This is true, right? Think of Xerox or think of a copy machine. Um, the the plumbing wasn't really working all that great, so it was really hard for people to get a drink of water. It was super hot. The asphalt had just been poured, so women who were wearing high heels, their heels kept getting stuck in the asphalt. Most of the rides, most of the attractions weren't really working all that well. Peter Pan didn't open for another 2 days. Like, just a fiasco. If you were there on opening day, I could imagine being like, this thing is going to close quickly. And here's a preview. It didn't. Um,
Spoiler.
but to your point and the point you made earlier, this is for me the point in which Disney became not just another studio. Other studio,
Yeah,
there's plenty of
I
studios
do. Yeah.
from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Many of them still around, but this is the point in which Walt became more than a studio head, and really, I think, became a cultural figure, a futurist.
Hmm.
He would go on not only to have impact in movies, but in travel, in leisure. He became, towards the end of his life, a bit of a futurist, bit of an urban planner. Like, this is a guy whose ideas
Yeah.
wouldn't stop. And I often wonder what the world would look like if Walt had had a chance to see his ideas all the way through. Um, I've always, and another Disney Plus thing to look at is his original plans for Epcot,
Yeah.
which were not realized. And even when I look at it now, some of them were, foolishly naive. But it all started, that sort of second life that Walt had started July 17th, 1955. So that's like the moment I think that Disney became bigger than a studio.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. That's amazing. Kind of gives me
Mhm.
chills.
It really does.
I know we talked earlier about, the Pixar characters not being in the Disney Studios short. However, I think a huge moment for Disney Studios was when they did partner with Pixar. In the beginning, before it was even bought, right? Toy Story was just kind of like a partner deal.
Mhm.
A lot of ones were before Disney actually owned Pixar, but I think that transformed the studio into something completely different than Walt could have ever imagined. And
Absolutely.
I think that partnership has just been incredible.
I couldn't agree more. Like the particularly Pixar's sense of story
Yeah.
sort of came around, I think, when the Disney studios were kind of losing their sense of story.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you and I may differ on some of the late stage 2D animated Disney movies, but Brother Bear and Home on the Range, in
Oh,
my opinion, were not ideal.
Home on the Range, I give you, but I love Brother Bear. I love
They were
Brother
not my
Bear
favorite.
so
And
much.
as a huge Disney fan, I remember seeing both of those in the theater, being like, "Oh, what's going on? Like, are we like losing it? What's happening?"
No, Brother
And then
Bear was
Pixar comes
amazing.
along. Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
Pixar.
maybe I'll rewatch Brother Bear and we'll talk
Oh,
about it. But
I
at
love
the
Brother
time,
Bear.
I was not impressed.
How can you not be impressed? It's beautiful. The whole story is beautiful.
I
All
was
about Native culture, Native Alaskan culture.
I was not impressed.
You need to watch it again.
I'll watch
You
it
need to
again.
watch it again.
I'll watch it again. I'll
I want
watch
to
it
go
again.
watch it.
Fine.
I want to go watch it right now. Yeah.
Well, we
So
have the
that's my.
podcast finished. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we do.
Yeah.
But Pixar, I think that was a huge, huge in the 100 years.
Okay. Is it my turn now?
It is.
Okay. So mine is very personal, but I also think it's global to the extent once I explain it. So when I'm in elementary school, I was
Get
a
ready for a story, boys and girls.
story time with Uncle Al. Uh, I was a poor black kid in Compton, California.
You sound like Steve Martin.
I know,
I
right?
grew up a
I was
poor
a poor black
child.
child. And it's funny because I was watching this thing on Disney Plus earlier about like people's first memory of Disney. And I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that I can come up with a first memory of Disney because Disney is so ubiquitous. Like, how can you remember the first time you saw Mickey Mouse or anything? But I was like, but I can remember the first time Disney had like a impact above and beyond like other sort of entertainment I was consuming. And this is when I was in elementary school. And I think we've talked about this before, and I think you all probably did a similar thing where every once in a while they would have either short films or film clips they'd bring into class.
Mm-hmm.
And one day they brought in a short that was about music, and it was
Mm-hmm.
Peter and the Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the short where they said, okay, so this is Peter and the Wolf, it's classical music. And, Peter, the character, is played by this instrument. And the wolf is played by this instrument, right? And I remember just watching that and being like enamored of that idea. And I was a pretty little kid. It was elementary school for sure. And for the first time understanding that art could have different levels of meaning, and that really opened up my world to be able to be like, wait a minute. So something can mean one thing and then a whole other thing separately. And it really made me, as a human being, even as a little kid, much more engaged in everything that I took in as art, whether that be at the time like comic books and TV shows, right? But just as I grew up, the idea that things could be bigger than what I first saw really is rooted in seeing Peter and the Wolf in elementary school. And it's such an interesting thing because now kids have access to everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, when we were kids, this was the 70s. This isn't something that you just had access to, particularly
That's
Disney
right.
stuff, right? We didn't have VCRs and things like that. And so it was, and it's funny to think about now as you teach, and I've been a substitute teacher, being like, was this just the teacher being like sick of dealing with kids that day and putting on a film strip? Maybe it was, but it meant the world to me, and it really opened up my life to the arts, um, to the arts, as I gesticulate. Um, and so it meant, I do think it's very personal, but I also think it's really massive, particularly in a way that Disney has taught us as a culture how to consume art. So Peter
Yeah,
and the Wolf.
that's a good one. And that wasn't even in my memory bank, but yeah, I love Peter and the Wolf. So,
Yeah. And if you haven't had a chance to see that short, like,
oh,
it's just really,
it's
and I think
amazing.
it's specifically for kids to understand how classical music works, right? And my dad didn't play classical music. He was a blues musician, right? Like, but it just really opened up my world in a very
Yeah.
real
Yeah, now I want to watch that too. Okay, I
way.
got a lot to watch after this episode.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so my fifth and final, and this is something that I think changed Disney forever and how people see Disney. And I think that's the advent of Disney Plus and streaming. And
It came so close to being on my list.
it lost Disney a ton of money. Bob Chapek, well, Bob Iger started it, let's not forget. So we can't all blame every loss on Chapek, but it is not doing well financially. It did not do well financially. It was a suck of money that didn't come back, right? Because you're putting theater type entertainment out there for people who are not paying theater prices. And so yeah, there's a lot that happened over the last year with Disney Plus, but I think it's an amazing advancement in Disney just to give access to things like Peter and the Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
or the things that Al and I are talking about that maybe no one has seen before, and it's all in one place. And I mean, the shorts are incredible, and just there's so much that is on Disney Plus. And it's not even just the Disney, it's got the Pixar, it's got National Geographic, right? Like there's so much on there. I am very thankful for Disney Plus. I can remember it wasn't that long ago. In fact, we have it on the podcast. How
Mm-hmm.
excited we were
Yeah,
at the
there's a whole
idea.
episode about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like oh my gosh, what's this gonna
And
be?
I
And
remain as excited about it. Like, I
yeah,
remember the first thing I watched on Disney Plus specifically was Steamboat Willie, because I figured that was what I should do, right?
good plan.
And
Good
I
plan.
and I still think it was a game changer again in my lifetime, going from the 70s, where like you had to see stuff only when Disney re-released a movie every 7 years, right? When we were
Yeah,
kids, if you remember,
yeah,
like I remember seeing Pinocchio in 1978 because I wanted to see Superman the movie, and my mom got to the theater and said, I'm not waiting in that line, but Pinocchio's playing. Um, to the point where it's like, so I can just watch Pinocchio, right? Like I can just put
I
on
know.
and I just have a wild hair and I want to watch Humphrey shorts, and I can do that. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I think those are, yeah, those, I think those are my top five. Yeah, I think I did pretty good. I think I'm solid. I mean, with it, I
Yeah.
had a lot of other ones, but I think I'm still good after saying those 5.
Well, I've
Those are
got
my
one
5.
final,
I bet you do, because
and it's hard. It's hard to talk about, and I tell you why it's hard to talk about, because we don't talk about this.
Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Is it really Bruno?
We don't talk about Bruno. No, no, no. We don't talk
Oh my
about
god.
Bruno.
Is Bruno your 5th?
Here's why.
Oh my god.
Here's why. And it's because it represents something bigger. But also,
It does.
I really genuinely dig Encanto so much.
Yeah.
And dig the music from Encanto so
Yeah.
much. And dig We Don't Talk About Bruno so much, and cannot believe that they didn't push that to be best song at the Academy Awards that year. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
But the reason I say we don't talk about Bruno as a big Disney moment is it is only the latest in so many different points in which Disney music has sort of scored our lives, right? So it makes me think about the Great Depression, when Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf became a huge hit, because it really resonated with people during the Great Depression. And the wolf was at the door. It makes me think about all the great Disney music over the years that has really brought people comfort and joy when things are tough. And if you recall, we don't talk about Bruno, and the whole Encanto soundtrack was really big during what period of time? What my dissertation calls the Great Distress era, which is during the COVID pandemic. And if you think about Bruno's story, Bruno isolated himself from his family for their own good.
Yeah.
And to his detriment. Not only is it a banger, but it's sort of emblematic of Disney music as a whole. And it's something that not only Bruno, but how many Disney playlists have I generated for when I'm jogging, or when I'm walking Gotham, or when I'm driving to work. And I will say that Disney music hits me on a level that other music just doesn't. Even music that's come out since I've been an adult. It's just, when I listen to We Don't Talk About Bruno, it makes me happy. When I listen to When You Wish Upon a Star, it makes me happy. And I think We Don't Talk About Bruno is sort of emblematic of songs like Let It Go, which became a huge monster hit. Like, how many Disney songs have become a huge monster hit separate from their place in the movie?
Sure.
And so We Don't Talk About Bruno is a big moment because it's emblematic of the impact I think Disney music has had on us as a culture.
Wow. That was really deep. That's some good analysis right there.
Well, I am a doctor.
Not just playing one on TV.
Oh, no, I'm playing one on TV too. We're going to put this up on YouTube, and then I watch YouTube on my TV.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Well, hopefully maybe someday we can accomplish what is every 7th grader's dream, and that is to be a YouTube star. I don't have to go to college. I'm a YouTube star. Sure, buddy. How about it?
Yeah, let's see how that works out.
All right. All right. Our dueling duelists. What do we miss? We must have missed, I know, that wasn't community duelist. What
dueling duelists.
Dueling duelists and community.
A lot of alliteration. Yeah.
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we obviously I'm just expecting that we missed one of your big in the 100. So go ahead and let us know what that is. And if you're not part of our community, please join us on Facebook. We'd love to have you there. And you can find us actually anywhere. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Please subscribe. And if you're listening to us audio, is that an
Orally?
or no?
AURALLY.
Oh, yeah, orally. I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyway, thank you, and leave a review wherever you listen, and find us on Facebook or Instagram at Dueling Disney. And I think that's all I have.
To all that come to this happy place, welcome. Dueling Disney is your podcast. Here, age relives fond memories of the past, and here, youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Dueling Disney is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.